the girl from Suits. And I was surrounded by world leaders, humanitarians, prime ministers, and activists that I had such a deep and long-standing respect and admiration for.
It doesn't feel great to, as we've talked about, suffer in silence or even just sit in silence if in those moments you want to be heard or if you have something to say. So I think part of the role modeling that I certainly try to do as a mother is to encourage our daughter, who at 3, she has found her voice. And we're so proud of that because that is how we, as I was saying, create the conditions in which there's a ripple effect of young girls and young women knowing that if someone else is encouraging them to use their voice and be heard, that's what they're going to do, and they're going to create a very different environment than so many of us grew up in, where our voices were meant to be smaller. And now, in raising them, we're changing the conditions in the environment where everyone has.
I will say, when we were watching the videos all the way in Canada, we had the same moment as we do each year, which is, how are you going to choose? So we've done our best, and I'm very pleased to announce the winner, who is Lee Spencer.
Incredibly lucky to be able to count myself as one of you. And I'm deeply proud to have served among you as Captain Whale.
Well, firstly, I would urge you not to read tabloids because I don't think that's healthy for anyone. Hopefully one day they come with a warning label like cigarettes do, like this is toxic for your mental health. How dark his skin might be when he's born.
British press said that.
Very distasteful, Piers. I was totally bored by the whining, the whining, the whining. It's just so horribly disrespectful and just a whine fest.
I wasn't planning on saying anything shocking, except for my husband's racist family almost drove me to suicidal thoughts while I was pregnant. She became a royal. She married a prince. The press is going to cover you.
You tonight have told me you have my back. Well, I'm also here to tell you I've always got yours.
It is very nice to be back in the UK.
Russell, on occasion we speculate about whether Harry will make a return to the UK. Now that rumour has popped up again this week.
On just the first day of the trial. So interesting whether Harry would come back. I don't think he will come back. I think, he does.
Certainly could. And that's, I think, one of the scariest things, that in the olden days, if your kids were under your roof, you knew what they were up to. In the next door room on a tablet or on a phone, and before you know it, within 24 hours, they could be taking their life.
What? Look, I was really ashamed to say it at the time, and ashamed to have to admit it to Harry, especially, because I know how much loss he's suffered.
If you're reading something terrible, terrible about a woman, why are you sharing it with your friends? Have a tremendously negative effect on someone's mental health.
I would never want someone else to feel that way, and I would never want someone else to be making those sort of plans, and I would never want someone else to not be believed.
Just because you suffered, that doesn't mean that your kids have to suffer. Briefing the press solidly for well over a decade.
Hey guys, Meghan and Harry might actually be moving back to Britain, and what's being revealed about the conditions for their return is absolutely wild. The royal family has some seriously shocking demands, and trust me, what's happening behind palace doors will change everything. Today we're breaking down why Harry and Meghan are suddenly considering a UK return, the royal family's secret list of demands, what's really happening with their California life, never before heard details about palace negotiations, the real reason King Charles might welcome them back, and proof that this goes way deeper than anyone realized. Plus, we have exclusive information from royal insiders about what's really going on behind the scenes. But guys, what these palace sources just revealed will make your jaw drop. Let's dive into what's really pushing Harry and Meghan to consider this move back to Britain, because the reasons are absolutely shocking. According to royal insiders, their California dream isn't exactly working out as planned. First, their Netflix deal is apparently hanging by a thread. Sources say the streaming giant isn't happy with their content proposals, and the viewing numbers for their recent projects have been disappointing. But here's what's really interesting. The palace actually predicted this would happen. They've been quietly preparing for a potential return scenario for months. But wait until you hear what King Charles is demanding. This is double-whaled. The royal family has this whole list of conditions for their return, and trust me, they're intense. King Charles is apparently insisting on a complete media blackout. No more interviews, no more Netflix deals, no more tell-all books. One palace source revealed he's even demanding approval rights over their social media posts. But it gets even more complicated with William's involvement. He's reportedly set his own conditions for any family reconciliation. Sources say he won't agree to any public appearances with Harry and Meghan unless they publicly retract some of their most damaging claims about Kate. The tension between the brothers is apparently worse than ever. And just when you think the demands couldn't get stricter, the most shocking condition? The palace wants complete control over Archie and Lilibet's public appearances. They're worried about Harry and Meghan using the kids for publicity, especially after those Christmas card photos caused such a stir. One senior royal aide said, "The children's royal status won't be used for commercial gain. That's non-negotiable." Now let's talk about what's really happening in Montecito, because their American dream is falling apart faster than anyone expected. Sources close to the couple say they're facing some serious challenges that are pushing them towards this UK return. Their $14 million mansion is becoming a massive problem. Not only are the maintenance costs astronomical, but they're having serious security issues. Neighbors have complained about constant paparazzi presence, and get this, they've had multiple security breaches. One insider revealed they're spending over $1 million a month just on security. But guys, what happened at their last neighborhood meeting will shock you. The Hollywood situation is particularly embarrassing. Despite all their efforts, they're being frozen out of major A-list events. Sources say they weren't even invited to several high-profile parties they attended last year. One entertainment insider revealed they're seen as too controversial, too much drama. Nobody wants the royal baggage anymore. Their business ventures are struggling too. Archewell's projects aren't generating the impact or income they expected. Netflix executives are apparently frustrated with their content ideas, calling them too preachy and self-involved. Even Spotify dropped them after that podcast disaster. And trust me, what these financial documents reveal is absolutely mind-blowing. But here's what's really pushing them towards a UK return. Their financial situation is way worse than anyone knows. Sources say they're burning through money at an alarming rate. Between their security costs, lifestyle maintenance, and failed business ventures, they're facing some serious money problems. One financial advisor close to the situation said, "They're living like royals without royal money. It's unsustainable." Let's break down these secret palace negotiations, because what's happening behind closed doors is absolutely fascinating. The royal family isn't just going to welcome them back without some serious guarantees. King Charles has apparently appointed a special team of advisors specifically to handle the potential return. They're calling it Operation Homecoming, and the details are intense. Every aspect of Harry and Meghan's potential role has been meticulously planned, right down to where they'd live and what events they could attend. But what these palace documents reveal next will make your head spin. The housing situation is particularly interesting. They can't have Frogmore Cottage back. That ship has sailed. Instead, the palace is considering offering them an apartment in St. James's Palace, but with a catch. They'd have to agree to regular oversight meetings with senior royal officials to monitor their activities. It's basically royal probation. The most controversial part? The palace wants them to sign this massive new agreement about their public appearances. We're talking about a 50-page document that dictates everything from their social media posts to their charity work. One insider called it the most restrictive royal contract ever created. And just wait until you hear about William's secret involvement. This is crazy. Prince William's role in these negotiations is particularly tense. He's apparently insisting on a 6-month trial period before any official return is announced. Sources say he doesn't trust their intentions and wants proof they can follow protocol. The document even includes specific clauses about how Harry and Meghan must interact with Kate. Talk about awkward family dynamics. The way this potential return is affecting relationships within the royal family is absolutely wild. Let's dive into how each family member is really feeling about Harry and Meghan coming back. Queen Camilla is playing a surprisingly crucial role in all this. Sources say she's actually been advocating for their return, but not for the reasons you might think. She believes having them back under palace control would be better than having them as loose cannons in America. One palace insider revealed she told Charles, "Better to have them where we can see them." But wait until you hear what Kate really thinks. This changes everything. Kate's position is particularly fascinating. She's apparently set her own conditions for any reconciliation with Meghan. Sources say she's demanding a private apology for those crying story claims before she'll agree to any joint appearances. But here's what's really interesting. She's also worried about how their return might affect her own children's public roles. The relationship between the royal cousins is another major concern. Archie and Lilibet barely know their cousins, George, Charlotte, and Louis. Palace sources say there's serious discussion about how to integrate the children without creating media circus. One particularly tense point. The palace is worried about Meghan and Harry sharing photos of the cousins together. And what these private family meetings revealed will make your jaw But the most complicated dynamic is between Harry and William, despite public speculation about reconciliation, about reconciliation, about reconciliation, about reconciliation, about reconciliation. Sources say William is still deeply hurt by Harry's actions. During recent private meetings, William reportedly said he'll never fully trust Harry again. The palace is actually creating separate schedules to minimize their interaction at official events. Even Princess Anne has gotten involved, apparently telling Charles that any return needs to be strictly controlled. She's particularly concerned about Meghan's influence on modernizing the monarchy. One source overheard her saying, "We can't have them rewriting the royal rulebook again." Let's talk about how the palace is planning to handle this potential return publicly, because their PR strategy is absolutely fascinating. They've got this whole master plan to reintroduce Harry and Meghan to British society. The palace has actually created different scenarios for announcing their return, each time to specific events. They're calling it Operation Soft Landing, and it's incredibly detailed. One option involves using King Charles's birthday celebrations as a cover for their initial return, making it seem more about family unity than a formal comeback. But guys, what these leaked PR documents reveal will blow your mind. They've even hired a special crisis management team to handle the media fallout. These experts have created this fascinating strategy they're calling the Sussex Rehabilitation. It involves carefully staged photo opportunities, strategic leaks to friendly press, and even planned candid moments with other royals. The social media strategy is particularly interesting. The palace wants complete control over how Harry and Meghan use platforms like Instagram. They've drafted this 20-page social media guideline document that's absolutely wild. It even specifies what filters they can use on photos, talk about micromanaging, and trust. But here's where it gets really calculated. They're planning to use the children as a sort of PR shield. The strategy involves highlighting Archie and Lilibet's relationships with their cousins to soften public opinion. One document actually suggests timing announcements around the children's birthdays to maximize sympathy factor, the most controversial part. They want to gradually phase out Harry and Meghan's American connections. The plan includes slowly distancing them from their Hollywood friends and business partners. One PR expert involved said, "We need to make them more Windsor, less Hollywood." Now let's dive into the money situation, because what the palace is proposing financially is absolutely wild. The terms they're offering Harry and Meghan are unlike anything we've seen before. First off, they're not getting back on the sovereign grant. That's completely off the table. Instead, King Charles has apparently proposed this complicated allowance system. They'd receive funding based on their compliance with palace rules. One source called it behavioral banking. Literally, the palace has created this detailed point system for their funding. Every public appearance, every charity event, every royal duty gets assigned a value. But here's what's really interesting. They can also lose points for unauthorized interviews or social media posts. One palace insider revealed they'd have to get pre-approval for literally everything they post online. The housing situation is particularly complicated. While they'd get a royal residence, they'd have to pay market rent. The palace doesn't want any accusations of taxpayer funding. Sources say they're even considering making them sign a commercial lease agreement, something that's never been done with royal properties before. And what these financial documents expose will make your head spin. But here's the most shocking part. The palace wants control over their commercial deals. 2, they've drafted this extensive list of approved business ventures. Anything outside this list would need special permission. One particularly strict rule: no more Netflix documentaries about royal life. The children's financial future is also being carefully planned. The palace is proposing trust funds for Archie and Lilibet, but with major strings attached. They'd only get access to the money if they follow specific royal conduct guidelines. It's like they're trying to ensure the next generation stays in line.